This is a story that asks, what is a memory? What is truth? What if you're the only one with a terrible, unthinkable accusation? And what if no one believes you? This is the story of Glenna Mae Breckenridge.
So this was your land, right? This was your property. You grew up here.
Yes, born, lived here until I left for Teachers College.
And they just kind of arrived and...
Now in her late 60s, Glenna Mae has lived with a memory that's haunted her since she was a child.
Where that white cart is.
Fearing for her life, she kept it secret for years.
Ah, this is it.
This is
The
where he
boy.
made you watch
This
the
is,
burial.
yes, and told me if I ever said anything, I wouldn't live to tell the tale. So here I am telling.
Raised on this farm an hour northeast of Toronto, Glenna Mae was the first daughter in what would be a family of 5.
This is like your life book here, I guess, eh?
Oh, pretty much, yes.
That's you?
Ah, yes. I like this picture of me, cocky young lady.
But her early memories are scarred by physical and sexual abuse at the hands, she says, of her father.
This is me at about 10, and my sister and my father and myself.
So that's
Yes,
your dad.
that's my dad.
It's a horrific tale. As a teen, she says, he impregnated her 3 times. Sexual abuse, she says, that even by then had been going on for years. Certain photos seem telltale.
Yes, it tells me I'd been sexually assaulted because I'm not standing like any other child, and
You're pushing yourself away from him, is what it looks like.
yes, and at that stage that was happening so regularly, 3, 4, it was rampant. So I see that picture, and I've always hated that picture. I've always hated it.
What's tormented Glenna Mae in the years since then, more than the abuse, is a memory of what she says she witnessed at the hands of her father in July of 1955.
As this is the year of the murder, and this is what I was doing that year. I cut all the grain that year.
One day on the farm that summer, she says, a teenage Aboriginal boy, hired as a farmhand, stumbled across Glenna Mae as she was being assaulted by her father in a field. When the boy tried to jump in and rescue her, says Glenna Mae, her father flew into a rage.
He went to hit my dad, and my dad started to fight with him, and the fighting went on, and it ended up with my father getting the pitchfork, and he got him in the throat.
Pitchforked, she says, to death. Glenna Mae passed out.
When I came to, it had gone from being noon bright sun to being shadowy, end of day type. The dead body was on top of me. There was blood all over me. Well, and this area is where he was buried.
This summer, Glenna Mae took us back out to that field and showed us where, as a 9-year-old girl, she remembers being tied to a silo and forced to watch as her father buried that boy. But there's more. The day after that killing, she says, 2 of the boy's friends came by the farm asking for him. As soon as her father heard that from them, she says, he reached for a shotgun and took aim. Shot dead, she says, both of them.
And my father said, "Stop right where you are." And he shot the first one right about there in the knee.
Here.
Yep, right on the,
Shot them. You saw this?
yes. And then the second one went to move to help and shot him in the stomach. I can see it.
Young Glenna Mae then sank into a world of dark secrets. She kept quiet about all of it, fearing her father's wrath, blocking it out, and moving on. Decades passed, but eventually something triggered those terrible memories. First, of the boy stabbed and buried in the field, and then of the other two, as she remembered, buried out back under a pig pen. Soon enough, Glenna Mae called the police.
I'd like to report that I have now been able to remember that.
In the 1990s, she sat down with investigators detailing, on camera, not just the abuse, but murder.
Murder took place on or around July 28, 1955. At the same time, I would like to report that in 1954, I did report incidences of abuse to my classroom teacher.
Police took careful notes of her story and later questioned Glenna Mae's father. He denied everything to the police, and her family, she says, sided with him. And as was so often the case with Aboriginal boys in the 1950s in Canada, maybe they were runaways, no one had reported anyone missing. No bodies, no missing people, just one witness, Glenna Mae, and an accused, her father, who said flat out, she's lying. Her memories were dismissed, case closed. But Glenna Mae never forgot those boys.
The pain of all of this is, I couldn't tell you. I don't have words. And I've carried it for a very long time.
When we come back, will Glenna Mae find redemption?
This
Yeah.
floor is,
Yes, yeah, this is what we're talking about.
and you think the bodies are underneath us.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's take a look.
After a lifetime of chasing dark memories, Glenna Mae Breckenridge went back this summer to the Ontario farm where, in 1955, she says she saw her abusive father murder 3 teenage boys. A story no one but her believed. It's here in this barn that she hopes to find evidence her terrible memories are real. The farm is no longer in family hands, but the current owners allowed us in for a look. We brought along some state-of-the-art made-in-Canada technology.
That's it?
A device that, in effect, maps the underground using GPR, or ground-penetrating radar.
So what's the business end of it? The yellow thing at the bottom, obviously.
That part and this part, which is the display. So this is think of this as the computer, and this is the actual radar system.
One of the world's leading experts at this, Brampton, Ontario's Steve Watson, has taken this gear to plenty of burial sites over the years, but looking for bodies in a dusty corner of an old barn in Ontario, this is a first.
Just as you described it.
Yes.
Glenna Mae's memory: one of the boys was buried out in a field, but the others, she's certain, were entombed below the concrete floor of this old pig pen.
Well, for my purposes and my memory.
Her brutal
You don't need to
childhood
worry
memories
about this.
kick in
And,
hard.
So we need to be 3 feet and 1.5 feet in. When they were doing the foundation, the remains were exactly where the foundation was going to be, and they were sloughed in.
Did you ever think you'd see this day?
No. And it feels right.
Steve's work seems straightforward, crisscrossing the floor of the pen with his machine. It sends electronic signals straight down through the concrete, looking in the dirt underneath for, as he puts it, anomalies.
It's right there. I just need to move over.
Is this worth it?
Glenna Mae's heart is pounding. If there's anything unusual under that thick rock floor, he'll find it.
Are you okay? Do you need to step outside? No. Do you want to sit down?
For just under an hour, Steve runs it back and forth across the floor. The data will go into a computer, which will turn it into a 3D image on screen. It won't show precise human features, but Glenna Mae is told to get ready for whatever might show up.
The best way to describe it is like a blob, but the blob will have length and width to it, which
so
representing.
it'll be a form.
Yes, yeah. This is the card.
For Glenna Mae, the weight is almost unbearable.
What we've done is we've brought the data in.
A lifetime of wondering nears its end, and all eyes are on Steve's laptop. An image pops up.
So there. This is that anomaly
Oh, wow.
at just over a meter, 1.3 meters.
It's a remarkable moment.
Wow, a lot of stuff.
This view is looking straight down as if from above. That big square is the concrete floor. But this technology can turn it sideways and display quite clearly anything buried underneath. What is revealed?
I never thought I'd see something like this.
So this is probably, I'm going to say, probably 1.75 meters.
So like
So that would be
45 inches?
The size of a young boy.
Yeah, 5 feet. Possibly torso here, legs here, sort of thing.
So at this point we're seeing it's a meter, but we don't know whether that's...
Keep in mind, there should be nothing but dirt underneath that concrete slab. Instead, all those anomalies. But there's more.
Something of interest.
There's not just what appears to be two bodies huddled, but as it turns out, what could be remnants of a third as well, just off to the side. Also appearing roughly the size and shape of a teenager.
And you've got to be careful when you look at things not to try to use your imagination to create a picture, but that has some very definite.
Oh, yes.
Perhaps, we're told, it's the other boy, buried separately. For Glenna Mae, it's enough.
I know they're there.
She can now put it to rest.
And I feel very badly for those 3 boys, because they shouldn't have died.
They are the sad images she's sought for decades.
I feel that life can move forward.
We went for a walk with Glenna Mae after all that. It was quite a day.
I'm really thankful that I got to go through it. I'm really relieved that finally I've been heard in a positive way.
Glenna Mae knows that to be certain about this, there'd have to be a dig, and that's not likely to happen. The farm's new owners oppose it. Besides, there are still no missing persons reports from 1955. And even if police found human remains, it's likely no one would now be punished for their deaths. Glenna Mae's father died 5 years ago.
Here we go, puppies. Yeah, here we go.
Then again,
Yeah,
the truth is,
yes, you are.
this was never really about him anyway.
Yeah, smart puppies.
What Glenna Mae wanted was to show her memory couldn't be denied. To stand up for the boys who once stood up for her.
Have a fight.
3 boys, claimed by no one, but remembered by Glenna Mae. Their lives mattered to someone.
I'd like to think if I were their mother, that someone would have taken them in or cared for them. But as a mother, I would always have wanted to know where they were. To the parents of those 3 boys, or the relatives, I pray for their souls.
To Glenna Mae Breckenridge, it's a kind of closure, with the belief her life can now, in effect, might begin again. Her memories unburdened. Finally. Paul Hunter, CBC News, outside Port Perry, Ontario.